Share with God's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Romans chapter 12, verse 13. What's up, guys? It's me, Tolu, and I'm back with another video for Talk with T.
Obio, badass.
Understand?
Yeah, somebody else. Mr. Dempsey, yeah. Plenty people done the ask. Now which the Baba do the jazz? Yeah, the Baba do well for me. Now my life is done better. Not because I suffer fast. Not because I pray and fast. No be your show, no be that. I'm watching. Daily Mosinachi.
Before we start, I would like to let everybody know that I actually was not going to post a video today. And the reason for that is because I couldn't find anything to post about. Every topic that I went through that I thought would be great to talk about today, something just kept telling me, don't talk about this. This isn't the right time to talk about this. And yesterday, I was thinking in my head, I can't find a topic, so I just can't post today. Then, out of nowhere, something just came to me like, this is what you're going to talk about. This is what people need to hear. So, here we are. And also, again, before we start, I would like to dedicate this video to anybody who has lost anyone or anything and is either grieving now or has grieved in the past. I hope you find solace in this video. Today's topic is going to be dealing with loss and grieving. So to start off, what is loss? It's in the word. When you've lost something or you no longer have access to something. And loss can vary from anything. It can be losing your ring that your mother gave you. It could be having your pet run away from the house and the pet is now missing. It could be losing a football game or a soccer game. It can also mean losing a friend by finding out that you two are no longer compatible and you go your separate ways. It could be by losing a family member, even not in death. If the family member just suddenly walks away from your life, is no longer there in your life. And it also can be in death. Loss affects everybody differently. The same way you are grieving is not the same way that your friend is going to be grieving. Even if it's the same situation, you two are going to grieve in different ways. And that's what I want people to realize. That not everybody is going to grieve the same way that you are going to grieve. Loss can affect everybody. I also want people to realize that everybody is going to grieve. Even if you think that the person next to you is the strongest person in the entire world, emotionally and mentally, that person, if they lose something, they are still going to grieve. And everybody should have the opportunity to grieve when needed. You shouldn't be going up to somebody and telling them, why are you crying? You shouldn't be crying over this anymore. This happened years ago. Or this isn't important anymore. Let it go. If they are grieving over something, yes, it is good to move on. But you should not be telling them that they shouldn't be grieving over something anymore. For example, say the person who you think is the strongest person emotionally lost their grandmother that they were very close to. 10 years later, it's the anniversary of the grandmother. You see that person crying. Going up to that person and telling them, it was 10 years ago. I understood why you were sad then, but I don't understand why you're sad now, is not acceptable. And that's what I want people to understand. If someone is grieving, they have their own personal reason for grieving. You shouldn't be telling them what they should do or why they should be grieving or shouldn't be grieving, because it's not your story. It's their story. It's something that people need to be made more aware of. If you're grieving, then there's a reason. And that reason is your personal reason. You don't need to explain to anybody. Grieving affects people differently too. You could see someone become a lot more temperamental. You can see someone become more sad. In fact, surrounding this, we're going to talk about the 5 stages of grief. Number 1, shock. Shock is, well, the stage that everybody's going to go through. Everybody goes through that when you find out you've lost something. You just go into that sense of, wait, what? Like you hear in the TV shows when someone gets bad news, they're like, what did you say? That's shock. Because they just feel like what you said is the wrong thing. They feel like when you tell them bad news, they didn't hear you correctly. They they thought you said something completely different. So they're like, "What did you say?" Or they're just numb at that point. They become like statues. They just can't clearly think that what happened happened. And that's going to lead into the second stage, which is denial. Denial is the fact where you believe something couldn't have possibly happened. You believe that it never happened. You believe that the person who is telling you is lying. You just go into this sense of, okay, this didn't happen. This is all just a bad dream. I'm going to go to bed tonight and I'm going to wake up in the morning and this will have never happened. You're just going to be like, this didn't happen. This didn't happen. That's pretty much the mantra in your head. You're like, this never happened. When in reality, you need to realize that it did happen. But that is the denial stage. Number 3 is the anger stage. You get so angry that it happened, you know? And it's not so much that you're angry at the person, but you're angry that it actually happened. You're angry that the person who you felt close to or the thing that you felt close to is no longer with you. You and that person were together in tough times. You and this object were very close. This object was a source of comfort towards you. And now that it's no longer there, you're just wondering, where do I go from here? Like, why did you have to leave? Why did you have to go missing? Why did you have to disappear? Now I have to deal with all this on my own. Number 4, bargaining and depression. It's a two-part. Bargaining is when you're trying to exchange this for something that you feel will be in your favor. For example, say your boyfriend or your girlfriend had just broken up with you. When you're in the bargaining stage, you'll usually say things like, well, I'm going to do this, and if I do this, they'll come back to me. Or I'm going to go to them and I'm going to let them know I'm not going to do this anymore because that's obviously the reason why you broke up with me. So if I don't do this, then you're going to come back to me. That's what bargaining is. You're trying to exchange something for something else that you believe is going to work in your favor. When 9 times out of 10, when it comes to loss and grieving, bargaining does not work. Then we're going to go into the other side, depression. It's usually when you just realize what happened, and you just go into this sad mode like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to sit in my room. I want to cry all the time. I want to be by myself. I don't want anyone to come near me. I don't want to be comforted. I just want to be in my own personal space. You just feel like you become a former shell of yourself. If you had lost a family member, maybe by death, you realize that they're not coming back and you were so close to them that you feel like life without them is just really pointless. Or, say, for example, you had a family member, and I hate to use this kind of example, but say your mother or your father had abandoned you from a young age. You just get upset thinking, why did you do this to me? Why did you have to do this? And the way you did it affected me negatively. You just go into this sort of sad little mode. You're like, why did this happen? What did I do to make it happen? You're just wondering what's going on, why this all had to happen. And number 5, my favorite stage, the acceptance stage. The acceptance stage is what it is. You accept it. You may not be happy with what happened, but you accept that it happened and that it's going to be over. And that reminded me of a very powerful Bible verse that I was looking at when I was reading more about doing my video. Psalms 147 verse 3 says, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. That means when someone is sad or when you're crying or when you're upset, as long as you go to God, who is the source of all of our comfort and happiness and joy, that He will heal you. He will make sure that you don't have to cry anymore. You don't have to suffer anymore. You don't have to be unbearably sad or depressed. And I know that seems so hard to believe, but trust me, I know from experience, as long as you go to God with your problems, you go to God with whatever situation you're in, He will turn it around because it's said in His Bible, He will turn all things around and make them work for your good. Every good thing, every bad thing, He will turn it around and make every bad thing into a good thing, and He will make it work for your good. So, before I round up, I want to clarify something. As I mentioned before, the stages of grief, not everybody grieves in the same way. Someone could be in the denial stage a lot longer than another person. Someone could be in the anger stage for years and then go through the rest of the stages in weeks, and that could be vice versa for another person. Everybody grieves in a different way. And for some people, they can grieve for the rest of their lives. It happens. It happens. And there are some people who grieve for only a couple of days or even hours. That's it. Everybody grieves differently. So when you see someone grieving, don't go and criticize them because what they're grieving about is something that happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Go and comfort them. Tell them that everything will be all right. Let them know that God is on their side. God is there. God is holding on to them. God is hugging them. God is letting them know that everything is going to be okay. That they don't have to suffer anymore and they don't have to be hurt anymore and they don't have to keep crying because God will make them at peace. All they have to do is ask. I hope I was able to help someone today, and I hope I was able to speak to someone today. Please do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment below. Any feedback is appreciated. Remember, Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. Have a blessed day. Bye.